My boyfriend's figure myself out break end with me figuring out I didn't want him back. My boyfriend suggested we take a break so he could figure himself out. 6 weeks later, he had figured himself out. The problem was so had I. Let me back up. Daniel and I had been together for 3 years. Good years, mostly. He was the kind of person who was always slightly restless, always convinced something better was adjacent to whatever he currently had, which I understood as ambition for the first 2 years and recognized as a personality trait in the third. He loved me. I believe that. He also had a specific habit of wondering what else was out there while standing directly in front of something good. The break was his idea. He said he felt stuck. He said he needed space to think without the weight of the relationship. He said this in our kitchen on a Sunday morning, and I stood there with my coffee going cold and listened to him use the word space 4 times in 6 sentences. I said define break. He said just some time, a few weeks, to breathe. I said are you seeing someone? He said no. He said it fast and clean, the way people say things they've rehearsed. I said okay. He looked surprised. I think he expected me to cry or argue or negotiate. I didn't. I said okay, and I finished my coffee, and that afternoon he packed a bag and went to stay with his friend, and I sat in the apartment we'd shared for 2 years and felt something I didn't immediately identify. It took me until Tuesday to figure out what it was. It was relief. Not complete relief, not uncomplicated, but underneath the hurt there was a quiet release I hadn't known I needed. Like taking off shoes you'd stopped noticing were tight. I called my friend Rosa. She came over with wine and the specific energy of someone who had been waiting to say something for a long time and was finally being given permission. She said she thought he'd been taking me for granted for at least a year. His mais bop is överliven gångbrytalen for class and after time. Looking to battle ready for hållasing. And white plums att vermeidigen ever does afterslischen. Befying my stralaner time the cider, or gortman bodig and cheap skew sace, which we hacked a malbon tout and his sisters after his relbizes. The racing and every backflum what his code shitting was affably that moment others in the bang of room scratch full of pole time by with elegrating the line malbon strattering after from the choice. She listed specific examples with timestamps. It was thorough. I was impressed. I went back to being a person who existed independently. This sounds small. It wasn't. I'd been quietly organizing my life around Daniel for 3 years, the way you do when you love someone and it doesn't feel like sacrifice because you're choosing it. I stopped choosing it. I made plans I would have checked with him first. I said yes to things I would have hesitated on. I slept in the middle of the bed and watched whatever I wanted and ate dinner at 9 if I felt like it. 3 weeks in, I cut my hair. Not dramatically, just differently. The way I'd wanted it for 2 years and hadn't, because he'd said once that he liked it long. My friend B said it looked incredible. I felt something shift. Week 4, I got a promotion. Not because of the break, obviously, but because I'd been working toward it for 8 months, and it arrived during a period when I had more mental space than usual. And my manager said I'd seemed particularly focused lately, and she was right. I had been. And I went out to dinner with Rosa and B, and we ordered expensive things, and I paid for all of it because I felt like celebrating, and I could. Week 5, Daniel texted. He said he missed me. He said the space had been good, but he was ready to talk. He asked if we could get dinner. I said I needed a few more days. That surprised him. I could tell by how long it took him to respond. Week 6, we got dinner. He was warm and attentive in the way of someone making an effort, which was different from the ordinary warmth of someone who takes presents for granted. He'd gotten a haircut. He asked questions and listened to the answers. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking. I let him talk. He said he'd realized what he had. He said the break had clarified things. He said he wanted to be the partner I deserved, and he knew he hadn't been showing up fully, and he was ready to change that. I listened to all of it. Then I said, I've been doing some thinking too. He smiled, expectant. I said, I think we've been making each other smaller for a while, and I didn't notice until I had some room to breathe. I said the last 6 weeks have been some of the best I've had in years, and that information matters to me. The smile changed shape. I said, I don't think this is a you problem. I think we just stopped being good for each other and kept going anyway because leaving felt harder than staying. He said we could fix it. I said I didn't want to fix it. I said I wanted to keep feeling the way I'd felt for 6 weeks. He said he thought I'd be waiting. I said I know. He looked at me for a long moment. The man who'd needed space to figure himself out, sitting across from the woman who'd used that same space to figure out she was fine without him. I paid for my half of the dinner. I walked to my car. I slept in the middle of the bed that night. I still do.